This video we are just going to quickly go over the setup you want to have, or that I would at least recommend if you want to make model mods. Model mods include MDL files, so whatever, if you want to make a new weapon into the game, or if you want to replace the model of a current weapon with some other weapon from other games or whatever. Yeah, all the tools here are going to be linked in the description. So yeah, first thing first, you're gonna need a Blender. For Blender, you will want at least version 2.92. Blender, for me, I'm using 3.2.1 for modding stuff. Anything will work on the latest, except for I think Blender 4, the current preview stuff, because there's some stuff broken. But yeah, just get 3.2.1 if you want to be extremely sure on that. And then in Blender, we will also need something else, which is the Blender Source Tools add-on. A Blender add-on, you just go into Blender Preferences, and then you will see that in this add-on tab, there is like, if you search for it, there is nothing. That's because we need to install it. So press Install, press on the zip file of Blender Source Tools, and install add-on. Gonna take a bit, and then it's here. You just enable it, close the window, and you will see that suddenly you have this little export tab here in the so-called scene properties, as well as an import button under the import settings. So yeah, that's it for Blender. Next thing you want to do is download Crowbar. And in Crowbar, you are going to set up a couple things. So open Crowbar. My setup is already done, but I will show it for you. So first thing you want to do is select your game. So you will need one of 3 softwares from Steam. One of them is Portal 2 and its SDK. So if you own Portal 2, install Portal 2, and then in the library, game software and tools, select Tools 2. You just go down to Portal, and there will be something called Portal Authoring Tools, Portal 2 Authoring Tools, and you install that too. If you do not own Portal, you can also get Source Filmmaker. And if you, for some reason, don't want to get Source Filmmaker, you can also get Alien Swarm, which is free too, and it's SDK too. So yeah, if you get Portal 2 or Alien Swarm, you will also need to install their SDK. Source Filmmaker, on the other hand, well, it doesn't need an SDK. It works as is. So once you've done that, go into Crowbar, and up here, select the game you're using. In my case, it's Source Filmmaker. And then you will just name this to whatever you want. For example, if you want, you can call this Titanfall 2 MDL. And then it's going to rename it up here, which may not be what you want, but doesn't matter. If you want, then yeah. If you don't, you don't need to rename it. It's just, at least in my opinion, a bit easier. And here you will have these paths, which you need to make sure are correctly. The one that is the most important for us is this. Adding a library down here will basically append this little library path to the front of this. So just make sure these paths are correct. Very easy to set up. So once you've done that, go to the decompile tab, which actually is basically the thing that takes our model and splits it into a lot of smaller files that we can work on. So in the decompile thing, select MDL input, click File. In the output 2, make a click on subfolder of MDL input. Make sure to check these things like this. We will go over a couple of these things later on in the guide. This is just for setup for now. This you can call basically anything you want. I usually call it decompiled and let it at this, like this will work. Yeah, next thing you do is go to compile. And in here, select QC input file, output to subfolder of QC input. Here, game.test the model compiler, you select the thing we just made, Titanfall 2 MDL. And here you can select these two. You don't need write log to a file. I just use that because it's easier to, well, think about arrows. Yeah, that's it in Crowbar already. Next thing you want is Harmony VPK. There's no real setup required for this. It's just a little tool that basically allows us to export models and stuff from the game files of Titanfall. MDLShit is basically another cool little tool that takes our output from Crowbar later on and converts them to a different MDL file. Paint.net is, well, it's just a paint software. It's draw pictures, but the good thing about Paint.net is that it has a lot of export and import settings, so it's going to be useful for textures. And VTF edit, VTF, not WTF, VTF edit. This is a little program that allows us to create Valve material, Valve texture stuff, Valve texture files. We are going to use that for something too. And the last thing you want is Repack. Repack requires a small setup. So in Repack, you will get like this exe. But what you want to do is make these three folders: assets. You will want to make maps. You will make rpacks. And you will make a pack all.bat. So let's go over what this does. Basically, Repack makes the .rpack files and .starpack files for the game to put textures in. We are going to use that to pack our textures so they actually work in game. The pack all bat file basically tells Repack what to do. In our case, we are going to use pack all to, let me just press edit here, to do this. I will put this into the description so you can just copy it and make this bat yourself. Rpacks is going to be our output. Maps is going to be where our maps will be. That is basically what rpack.exe takes and makes textures from. And assets is just where our textures and stuff are going to be. This is just what I'm going to use later on. So yeah, make these folders and the rest will be explained when we are at that part in the guide. So yeah, that's the quick setup. Obviously, you will also need Titanfall 2 and Northstar installed, a legit copy of Titanfall 2, because otherwise it's just not gonna work. Fuck piracy. Yeah, that's about it. That's the setup, and in the next part of the tutorial we are going to just replace the mesh of a weapon with a different weapon. That's it. See ya.